Senator Joe Griffo in with us this morning as our special guest co-host, fresh from the convention in Cleveland. And, Senator, so Monday night, somebody writes in, Monday night, watching Yankees on TV, when they started the seventh inning stretch by recognizing a military person on the field, standing there with the honoree was a male wearing what? What T-shirt was the guy wearing? Anybody?
Not a Mets shirt.
Black Lives Matter.
A Utica Boilermaker 2015 Boilermaker training T-shirt.
Pretty
Really?
impressive.
Yeah. It was on Yankees. What is that?
Yankees.
What is their
Yes
TV?
Network?
Yes Network.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's impressive.
How about that? That was kind of neat.
Absolutely.
I like it. What else do we have here this morning that I found to be somewhat interesting? We're going to talk to Legal Lis coming up in a few minutes. Senator Griffo is in here this morning, and we've talked all morning about what you've seen in Cleveland for the convention. But talk a bit about, you had a pretty good session, I think, this year. A lot of stuff, a lot of things have been accomplished.
Yeah, actually,
this session.
Actually, the majority leader, Senator Flanagan, is in Cleveland. We were together the last couple of days. I think he did a great job this year. It's tough because you have to find that balance. You have government split, but I think that is a good thing because there are checks and balances. If you don't have one of the houses of a different party, particularly in this state, then you tend to get this domination from a New York City-centric kind of perspective.
Yeah.
And while I respect the differences of opinion, that somewhat becomes challenging for the upstate community. So I think it was a good year in the sense that we got a lot done, started in the budget process. A lot of people talk about the importance of paid family leave, and the individuals will actually be contributing to that, not the companies. The budget was done on time. It was balanced. We continue to be in the black, which is encouraging. Then you focused on the end of session, the heroin epidemic, and there were a number of pieces of legislation done there, particularly focusing on the addict right now, because it's not only, we tried to look at this from a education prevention, from a therapeutic and recovery aspect, as well as the enforcement. Now, we weren't successful in doing a lot of the enforcement because the Assembly pushed back on that. Again, there's a difference in philosophy there.
Sure.
And when we talk about enforcement, we're only talking about going after the people that are the pushers, that are getting the drug to the users. Yeah. But I think we did a lot of things relative to access, insurance coverage, making it easier for people to be able to get that coverage quickly, to stay longer than the original time period. So that all was helpful. We put some more money into the SUNY campuses. I think that will help, too. As you said, higher education, we still have to find a way to make that more affordable for people. We went after zombie properties, and we're able to put in some legislation that will now try to hold the banks more accountable, as well as expediting some of the processes involved in that. Yeah. So there were a lot of things done from that perspective towards the end of the session that I thought, I don't like the way session ends because you have a glut of legislation coming at you, so thousands of bills are coming at you in the last week. I think we can do that and should do that differently and better. But some of those highlights, I think, are important as we move forward.
So last year, this time, we were talking about AMS coming in. They're on track, and there is work being done up there to prepare for that. But the facility GE was going to use is basically built. Where are they right now?
Well, it's my understanding that the clean room Quad C project, which is on SUNY Poly, has built. And look, this is a whole different approach to economic development. Again, we may disagree with how much the government should subsidize and what type of incentives are being provided. Unfortunately, you have to compete with other states who are doing similar things. So this is kind of a new paradigm in the sense that the state is building the buildings for these companies, and the ownership remains with the state, and then the companies are coming in to lease space and hire people. So I think all of that is essentially done now, and the equipment needs to begin to come into that facility. And then companies like GE who have signed should be coming. I'm hopeful that we're going to see something this fall. That was the timeline that was presented as a result of the completion of construction, the signed agreements. AMS, similarly, you're beginning the construction. It's going to be...
really, they won't be up in operation until 2018, right?
Probably, because it's going to take some time to build the fab facility. But it's important to stay on top of this. The money is there. It's been allocated and directed for these purposes. But that doesn't mean that we don't need to continue to engage and try to accelerate some of this, because seeing is believing. I know there's still people that are skeptics and wonder, when is this going to happen?
Where are the jobs, Joe? So, you hear it over and over again.
So we need to continue to stay on top of that. And obviously there's been some issues that have surrounded the Buffalo Billion and SUNY Poly. And so that needs to be continued to be watched. And from our perspective and our conversations with all those and working with those in the executive branch who are dealing with this, everything appears not to be problematic at this point in time. I know the County Executive Pacenti has been actively involved in this and is keeping an eye on things, as well as my colleague in the Assembly, Anthony Brindisi, and I. So this is a good team effort to try to make sure that we're holding people accountable.
And it has to result in jobs soon. We're getting to that point where it's got to be, at least the GE job should be here. They got to come soon, I would think. So, all right, Lis Wiehl's on the line from Fox News. Lis, of course, each week does 3 legal topics. And good morning, Lis Wiehl. Thanks for coming on.
Good morning.
Taylor Swift, topic number 1, threatened legal action against Kanye West after learning he'd recorded their famous phone call. Dun-da-dun.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, this is kind of crazy, right? You got Kanye West, you got Kim Kardashian, because she's a part of all of this as well, and Taylor Swift. And the thing is, now it's not even about the song itself, whether she gave rights to the song, his song, Famous. It's whether or not she gave rights to, she said okay to the phone conversation where she apparently was giving rights to the song.
Okay,
so it's all going to come down to where the conversation took place.
Right.
If it took place in California, that's really problematic for Kanye, because California is a 2-party state where both parties have to give consent, right?
Right.
And if it took place in California, then Kanye's really in trouble.
In New York, he'd be okay.
And if it was in Tennessee, he'd be okay as well, because that's just one-party consent. Like if Kanye obviously said, "I consent to it myself," does he speak like that? I don't think so. But anyway,
I think so. Yeah.
So really, it's all going to come down to where the lawyers are going to get forensics, obviously, of where the conversation took place. But it's like, oh my gosh! These guys get themselves in so much trouble. It's incredible.
Well, in being in radio, we are well aware of the rules, the federal rules versus state rules. But in New York, we're a one-party state, meaning that you can't basically tap a phone conversation between 2 other people.
Right, as long as you're, obviously you're consenting.
One person
you're on
has
the
to know.
phone.
Yeah.
So you can pretty much, take the phone conversation.
But it's funny because I knew of a guy that went into the basement and tapped into his phone because he was trying to catch his wife. And in New York, that is illegal.
Sure, because
if
neither party is consenting. I mean, neither party to the conversation. I guess that's the best way to put it. So, your example is exactly right. Neither party to that conversation is consenting.
Topic number 2, Freddie Gray case. 3 acquittals. Prosecutors face tough challenge in the remaining trials, according to experts. They might not get anywhere on this. What do you think?
Well, let's go back to the beginning when Madam Prosecutor came out and just was trying this right away in the press. She, convicted all the cops who are, both races. So it wasn't just a racial thing, white against black.
Yeah.
And she did kind of, for me, the ultimate sin of a prosecutor, which is just go and try it right in the public. Don't give it to a grand jury. So a grand jury, what grand juries are supposed to look, they're people of our peers looking at facts and being an investigative arm to the prosecutor and saying go ahead or not go ahead. She didn't do any of that. She just rushed to an indictment, and I'm not at all shocked that it's turned out like this, because a neutral judge has looked at it and said, you just don't have the evidence,
right?
Which a grand jury could have told her way back when, saved us so much angst, and us, I mean the American public, and certainly the city of Baltimore, and just saved everybody all of this. Now, will they go forward? I don't know. I mean, you're supposed to look at each case individually and not say, well, because the other ones have failed, but, I mean, I just don't think the evidence is there. It just doesn't meet the legal burden.
Yeah,
Let me just put it that way.
Speaking of legal, let's talk about this Pokemon Go. There's a lot of talk out there that you're giving up certain rights. They can get into your email if you sign up for this. What do we have when it comes to legal rights and terms of usage here?
Not much, because you consent. Nobody reads all these forms. You have to go through, pages and pages and reams of forms, which, of course, nobody reads.
Never read them.
Nobody. And by the way, it's not just Pokemon. Pretty much everything you sign up for on this stuff, you never read.
Yep.
Everybody, these mega companies have lots of teams of lawyers that, cover them very, very well. And they put you right into arbitration if you want to sue. And so, really you give up a lot of stuff. And you do it because you want, again, the stuff, whatever the stuff is. In this case, it's the Go thing. But on the flip of that, if you're walking around with these cards and you go, trespassing someone's house because you want to find the little thing, the little characters, or you walk off into a street because you're looking down at the thing and you get hit, by a cart, it's kind of tough beans because you've signed the consent thing, and you've signed away your rights to it. So I'm not saying don't go do it and don't have fun.
Sure.
Stay in your covers, but you got to realize, you are signing away a lot when you click on the box saying I agree or I consent.
And is there a way that you can opt out of the legal waiver on this and still be able to get the game?
Nope.
No,
because you got lots of lawyers who they're not protecting you; they're protecting the company, which I don't have a problem with in the sense of that's you could say, well, slimy lawyer, but that's what they're paid to do.
Yeah.
And if you made that company from scratch and you paid a lawyer to protect you and your company, that's what you want them to do. That's their job.
So is it Niantic Labs? Is that the company that owns Pokemon?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. Probably.
Yeah.
It sounds good.
And I'm wondering, are they Chinese or Japanese or American?
Yeah. I don't think they're American.
Hey, listen, it's huge, though. It's unbelievable, this craze, isn't it?
Yeah, it is big. And look, I had confessed I would like it because I like cards, like things you actually play that you hold on to, the tactile sort of thing. I thought, that'd be fun. I'd love to do that, and I just have been so busy I haven't done it. But it's the kind of thing I could see doing because it's like doesn't seem like it's that complicated. But I just haven't gotten around to do it. Now that I'm covering the story, I'm like, okay, I don't think I'll do it.
Yeah, but
I'll stick to my little playing solitaire.
They are saying that
people have told me they've said, Lis, to go on to the computer and actually it's so complicated. I said, you know what? I like my ineptitude. I'll stick with my ineptitude. Ineptitude's good. Rejoice in being inept.
As always, we love having you come on, Lis Wiehl.
Thanks. Got it.
Thanks
Take care.
So much.
Have a great week.
You too. Is that a Japanese or an American Pokemon? I'm looking here that at least they have an office in San Francisco.
The original company, Pokemon, the original brand, was established in Japan.
It was?
Yeah.
Okay.
The cards and the TV show and all that.
Nothing's made in America anymore, not even Pokemon, Joe.
Well, little flag pins aren't even made in America. If you'll notice,
Think
any of the
serious?
American flag pins, they say made in China.
Yeah, almost all that stuff. That do you go out of your way? I do, to try to find not only locally made but American-made stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, many companies, we actually wrote a letter to the General Services Administration because many companies are advertising that these are American-made companies and American-made products, and they're not. Particularly, we have in Sherrill a flatware manufacturer where the old Oneida used to be. And many other companies, they're the only ones truly that manufacture the flatware here in the United States anymore. But yet many other companies were saying made in the USA product. So we actually were able to...
Do they still make stuff in Oneida?
Yes, there's still an element there for this company that is...
but it's not Oneida anymore.
No, it's not Oneida.
And it's making the Oneida...
It's making flatware.
Style flatware.
Sure.
All right. And then what about the Utica cutlery? Does that exist anymore? That's another one that I don't hear a lot about these days, but that's another local company.
A lot of the gray area comes in between manufactured in America or assembled in America.
Right.
A lot of the product can be made, and then they ship the parts over, and they're assembled in the USA.
That falls onto the shoulders of people like Joe. What is the different definition of natural? What's the definition of fat-free? It's all legal stuff.
Legal stuff. I do believe, though, we were talking earlier with her, we should be a two-party consent state because I think the one-party consent is ridiculous. because somebody can just put down, particularly with all the new technology right now, right?
Yeah.
You put your phone down and you're taping, but don't tell anybody else that you're taping the conversation. I think that's wrong. I have advocated that we all become a two-party consent state so that people know they're being recorded, particularly, with, as I said, with the many devices that exist.
I am so against you on this.
Well, I'm just saying, not for law enforcement things like that. There would be special exemptions. But, yeah, I just don't believe it's unfair.
Even beyond it,
it's unfair to somebody, though.
It is the fairest thing.
How is that?
You must always feel like you're being recorded.
Okay.
That's how I look at it.
It's different
and by the way,
many of us.
Where in the hell am I going to do a crank call? Remember, I made a career out of doing crank calls.
Okay.
Could you imagine if both parties have to know? Could you imagine that? I'd be hey, by the way, I'm going to prank you now. And
that's a good point. That's a good point.
You eliminate my career, Joe.
I got to keep that in mind.
Think of me and all the young people out there that want to, grow up and do prank phone calls.
But you're not really. Well, that's true because you are recording it for the radio.
See, radio.
You can prank somebody, but if you want to record it,
I can legally prank anybody. You could legally, but to put it on the radio. Well, the federal law is two parties, so if FCC regulations are two party, both parties need to know, and you have to inform the other party before you begin recording. You have to inform them, which makes crank calls illegal on radio anyway.
Well, I was going to say then that would be very difficult because the only way you would do that is if you taped it earlier, then put it on. You couldn't do it that way.
So
then you might as well just do what you're doing.
The FCC requires that you tell someone first. Then you begin recording and ask them again, and they acknowledge that you informed them, and then you can do the call. Now, if you were to not put it on the radio and just do it on the internet, sky's the limit. Have some fun.